We're just waiting for the whole internets to wake up here this morning. Wait till LinkedIn starts to do the stream. Folks, welcome to the program. My name is, where's that button? There it is. Ooh, I want to use this one. Jeff DeVerter, Chief Technology Evangelist here at Rackspace Technology. And we are live here for another episode of Cloud Talk Live. Well, welcome to the program, everyone. I am live here this morning from Las Colinas, Texas, which is really just a little fancy part of Dallas. So here for Rackspace's sales kickoff. So I get to spend the week with some amazing folks here from Rackspace, from all around the country, all around the world, actually, who have pulled together. It's so good to see everyone. You know, when we would do events like this in the past, you know, it was just another event, but it was a big one, and we'd see all the people we saw every day. Now it's the people we see in these little boxes, so it's so fun to get to see everyone together. Folks, I am so glad that you've joined us here this morning here on Cloud Talk Live, and good old Bill Clark Kent is following all the rules that he knows, and that is to introduce yourselves in the comments below. Just introduce yourselves. Tell us who you are. Tell us where in the world you are. Those are the rules. We want to know who I get to talk to. Now, I am playing with some new technology on the road, so you're going to see a few new things. It is just me here this morning. I thought I wouldn't compound things with a remote guest, but I had some thoughts about what was going on here in the world, specifically in and around AI. And so I thought I would pull those thoughts together and share them with you. Now, if you don't already know, I'd love for you to head over to Rackspace after this program, of course, rackspace.com/solve. And over there, you're going to find all of our thought leadership that we create. There's podcasts over there. There's articles over there, all sorts of information. Now, the reason that I wanted to get together and talk today a little bit about AI really gets back to the simple reason that it is such an impacting influence in the world. And are you using AI in what you do on a daily basis? Is ChatGPT on a shortcut for you in your browser? Is bing.com/chat something that you're using? I'd love for you to let me know in the comments, because it is in mine. I use it literally every day to do the things that I do. It is the jumpstart to the work that I need to do. If I'm going to start even preparing for a program like this, I'm doing my research over there and not necessarily heading over to Bing or Google or some other search engine and assimilating the information myself. I am letting the generative AI help me with that and refine what it is that I'm looking for. And of course, all my own thoughts and opinions into it. But it is the jumpstart. So Lester, welcome. Good morning. Glad that you are here. Who else is here this morning? I apologize. I am not going to get your name right, but I'm glad that you're here. You're a PMP. Singapore is here. Clark Kent, we've already called out. So everyone, welcome, and I'm glad that you are part. If we're not already best buddies, well, there's my little handle over on LinkedIn. I would love for you to connect with me over there and be a part. I'm also playing around, of course, with some new camera angles here this morning as well. So as we get into our conversation about AI today, one of the things I really want to know is I've asked the question, and that is, how are you using AI on a day-to-day basis? I mentioned I've got either ChatGPT or Bing Chat, which is a derivative of ChatGPT, but there's some aspects of it that I appreciate a little bit more, and I use it probably a little bit more frequently. But how are you utilizing it? Hey, Costa Rica's here. So glad that you are here. Using AI for language teaching and learning translations. Professor Carlos back in the house from Costa Rica. Thanks for answering the question. Everyone, be like Professor Carlos. Answer the question. All right, so as I mentioned, we're going to get into a lot of the details of what's happening in AI. But what I thought we would do first is, we throw around the term AI as if it is something that is, that everybody understands. And I thought we might start with just a little bit of a description and discussion around what it is. Now, of course, there's a long conversation about what it is, but let's look for just a second at some of the core building blocks that makes up this AI experience that we use. I'm going to use some of these terms as we go throughout our morning here today. Now, the first, of course, a derivative and a subcomponent of AI is machine learning. Now, machine learning is where we are taking a computer, a machine, of course, and utilizing it to dig in and understand a little bit more about using it to understand the data that it's looking at without having to program it to look at that data. So it's able to learn on its own. We can put an algorithm together that says, hey, we're going to use, computer vision to look at a bunch of pictures to identify a specific type of animal, or teach you about a specific type of animal. So in the future, you're able to recognize that. That would be machine learning. And deep learning is now when we start using artificial neurons to create these layers of learning that now compound on top of one another to get a little bit deeper in that understanding. Then, of course, there is natural language processing, which now is another subcomponent of that, more of think of it as a vertical of machine learning or AI. And that's where we are utilizing it to understand what people are saying and convert that into text so that we can then do other analysis on that text. Next would be computer vision, where we are, again, back to the example of identifying an animal. We are taking and looking at images or video in some cases to then make decisions about the things that the computer is seeing. Could be utilizing it to, thanks, Daniel. Utilizing it to understand what's happening with quality control of images of parts coming off a manufacturing line, looking at images of people as they go through their day on the street to understand traffic patterns, or maybe even using it in a medical context that we'll talk about shortly. And then, of course, there's expert systems. Expert systems then are dealing with a deeper way to look at, specifically in a vertical of understanding, what might be happening. So let's dig into a little bit of demographics about AI. So in here, there was an interesting report that I pulled out of ZDNet. You'll see it listed here. And it says most organizations, they fear AI failure, but those that implement it reap the benefits. So there's a lot of concern. There is a strong bit of inertia that is keeping a lot of companies from moving forward. And when we think about companies that are moving forward with AI, it begs the question, what are they using it for? Now, David Eskimo says, he's here from Symmetry Labs Innovation. That's awesome. Professor Carlos is using it for teaching language. So that's natural language processing is happening there. Also text, converting from one language to another. But when we look at what companies are using AI for in helping their business increase productivity and efficiency, we see this every day with the customers that we're working with here at Rackspace. Improving customer service, reducing repetitive tasks. There's all sorts of great ways that AI is a great companion. And we talk about this a lot here at Rackspace, where AI really should be looked at as a tool for helping people be better at the things that they do, as opposed to replacing people. It makes people more efficient, less error prone. It helps take away the repetitive tasks, helps individuals really focus on those creative, specific things that they use that helps them be better at what they do. I already mentioned that I'm using AI on a daily basis here to help out in the things that I do, whether that's writing an email, whether that is summarizing content that is on a screen. Yes, I do that absolutely every day. If I'm doing research into a topic, and I will go into a page that has a whole lot of text on it. If you're using an Edge browser, you can use the Bing Copilot. It's up in the right-hand corner of that browser. Click on that, ask it to summarize the content on the page, and then ask questions about the content on the page. Maybe it really is super helpful. I'll even use that with a PDF as well, because you can bring it up in a browser, which is really helpful. All right, let's go back to looking at some of this content, because now I want to get into some specific examples of where AI is being used. So let's take a look at this. One way that it's being used is helping to unlock the value of supplemental health plans. Who doesn't love dealing with insurance? I hate dealing with the minutia of that. And that it really is the key word to talk about here, and that is minutia. Because when thinking about all the things that your insurance coverage covers and what it doesn't, can actually be a really difficult thing to do. Oftentimes, it takes long conversations on the phone with people who are really just combing through PDFs maybe as well. But if you can get a description about everything that's covered, well, you can use AI. In fact, there's a company that's doing that to help figure out where the gaps are and what supplemental coverage would be helpful. This is a great example. I often say that utilizing AI to help look for the needle in the haystack or the needle in the needle stack to figure out where the challenges and benefits are of specific bits of data. In this case, it's health data. How do we figure out what my health conditions are, apply that to my current coverage, and where are the gaps? That's a really interesting use case. So let's take a look at another one. And this one is super interesting because, folks, when we think about AI, oftentimes we're thinking about it in the context of deep tech. Ooh, AI, robots that learn, that take over the world. Well, again, I mentioned where AI is at its best is when AI is helping people be better, solve real-world problems like overfishing in the world's ocean. This company called OceanMind is utilizing AI to figure out what parts of the ocean are being overfished. How is AI doing that, you ask? Well, back to the example, looking for a needle in the needle stack. And they are looking at all sorts of data, transponder data from fishing vessels, open information that they can get, looking at cell phone pings, looking at all sorts of other open source data that they can correlate together and then ultimately track where ships are, where they're spending extra time where maybe they shouldn't, and then sending authorities out to help make sure that they aren't doing something illegal like overfishing an area where they don't have a permit or nobody should actually be fishing. AI solving the overfishing issue that exists today in the world. I love that example. Let's look at another example, and this is a company called Global Emancipation, and that's using AI to deal with labor trafficking, which ultimately means enslaved people. There are over 45 million people enslaved in the world today, more than at any time in history, if you can believe that. Knowing that the slave history, the shameful slave history of the past, it just looks a lot different than it did before. And so they're actually using, again, a lot of open source data to be able to figure out what people are doing so that they can get in and alert authorities so that they can get in and get involved. Isn't that interesting? All right, Dubai, we're glad that you are here. Welcome to the program. All right, let's look at another example before we go too much farther and get into one or two other examples. I mentioned using vision processing before. Well, they're utilizing AI to help diagnose cancer. Now, there's a specific type of cancer, the esophageal cancer. So your esophagus, that tube that connects your throat, your mouth, down to your stomach. And esophageal cancer, apparently, once it's identified through normal means, ultimately, there is only a 20% survival rate after 4 years unless it's caught early. And you know how they catch it early? By utilizing AI to look at images from an esophageal probe, basically sticking something down your throat. Nobody's excited about that. But if it ultimately means early detection, then by all means, let's go ahead and do that. But being able to, we think about AI and evolving an image over time. Well, it can actually look at that in reverse as well, and then look at those precursors that might show up inside of somebody's throat. These are the things that really start to get super interesting when you think about use cases for AI. Now let's talk about AI in the context of the day-to-day. I've already mentioned ChatGPT or Bing Chat, bing.com/chat, super useful. I mentioned before also that we're glad you're here. I mentioned before also that I tend to use Bing a little bit more than I will use ChatGPT. Now, of course, it's using the underlying same engine, but the way that Microsoft has put wrappers around that, it cites the information in a more thorough context, and that's ultimately what I'm using it for. I don't want it to do the work for me. But I want it to function as a smarter search engine for me to cite those sources so I can go back and look at it and I can make corrections or adjustments to put it ultimately in my voice. So folks, that's really what I wanted to cover here this morning in today's Cloud Talk Live. And that was to really look at what is happening in AI today to understand a little bit more about what the underpinnings and the underlying technology that exist inside of AI, and then how it's being used to make people's lives better. And then my challenge to you is how, if you're not utilizing AI on a day-to-day basis, well, you should be. Absolutely should be. Now, all the rules, the guardrails apply. Don't put private data out in the public world. Don't put corporate data that shouldn't be shared out in the public world. Researching interesting topics and understanding and knowing them better, absolutely utilize it. For instance, maybe there is an item that you want to buy and you're going to do some research on it. You know what I'd recommend? I'd recommend going out to bing.com/chat because that is an open connection out to the internet. I would say, what's that thing you want to learn? Maybe it's a new SSD drive for your laptop. Well, put your question into there. What are the top 5 pros and cons, or best products that are out there that are SSD drives, get listed in a table by pros and cons and price. And it will absolutely create that information for you, give you the links back to where it found it, and give you a starting block for where you should go to do that work. These are ways, tangible ways, that AI can make a difference in your day, every day. All right, folks, so glad that you are came and be a part of the program here today. Again, my name is Jeff DeVerter. I am the Chief Technology Evangelist for us here at Rackspace Technology. I work as part of the Office of the CTO. And if you'd like to get a hold of me, you have any questions about any of the things that we talk about here, of course, you can just connect with me over on LinkedIn and send me a message. I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to be able to engage with you. In fact, we could even get on the phone and have a chat. Not interested in being sold, but I'm interested in engaging in a deep conversation with you. So let's go ahead and reach out. So for that, folks, this is going to do it for this week's quicker episode, solo episode, live from Dallas, Texas. So glad that you are a part of this program with me here this morning. Again, my name is Jeff DeVerter. I'm the Chief Technology Evangelist here at Rackspace Technology, and I'll see you again here next week on Cloud Talk Live.